No, I don't get into injuries, so I won't get into that. But yeah, Taekwon and Bayu have both been splitting reps so far in practice this week. They've done well, but nothing's been decided or determined at this point.
James, you did have a policy once if a kid is out for the year, you generally confirm that. You still have that policy?
Yes.
Okay.
James, PJ Mustafer, what did you think of the guys that filled in for him, and is there any hope that he could be better?
Yeah, so PJ is out for the year. As you know, that's the one time I'll answer that if you ask specifically about a guy. I talked to PJ ahead of time. I never want to make an announcement like that without talking to a player first. I think that's the right thing to do. But PJ will be out for the year, for the season. I thought the guys that went in behind, did some good things. Obviously, PJ we think is an elite level player, so they still got work to do. But I thought overall those guys did some pretty good things.
You mentioned asked about Sean's spirits right now and how he's doing in terms of being his fifth year game at this point of the season.
Yeah, good. I mean, it's part of the game, right? And Sean's had issues in the past. He's doing everything he possibly can to get back as soon as he possibly can, and go from there. I mean, what he's dealing with is not uncommon at the quarterback position.
James, has he been working with Taekwon and Christian and giving him some advice and showing him some things?
Yeah, Sean's always like that. Sean, from a preparation standpoint, we have an issue with garage doors. Yeah, Sean's always really good like that. He's preparing exactly the same. He's always trying to include those guys as much as he can. But obviously, Sean's schedule academically with where he's at, in his academic career compared to other guys, makes it challenging at times. But yeah, he does a great job of this stuff.
James, you heard the crowd noise play a couple times. Is that something that you've designed for this week to help Taekwon and even Christian kind of get used to that, or no?
Yeah, no different than we have done in the past. Same thing we've done with Sean. We and you guys know this. I've said this before. We have a decibel meter at games, so I know how loud it gets in each venue. So we can replicate it here. So yeah, nothing's changed. We had the decibel of what it was on Saturday. We've had it here in practice. As you can imagine, like most things, and I know you guys, I give this answer a lot, but it's not just one thing, that causes some of those challenges. But I think you guys know as well as I do, we haven't had a whole lot of issues with that in my 8 years here. I think I told you guys back when I was an offensive coordinator, going to West Virginia one year, had an issue with it. Had not had an issue with it since until Saturday.
James, how do you think Taekwon bounced back from Saturday, and how are his spirits?
Yeah, I think these guys have played a lot of football throughout their careers. They've been in challenging situations. I wouldn't say -1, -2, -1 on the road in a hostile environment against the number 3 team in the country is how I would have drawn it up. But yeah, good. This week will be telling for both of them. We've only really had 2 practices, since then. Next week will be obviously important as well. We also have a practice tomorrow that those guys will be involved in.
Can you speak to the timing of the bye week, given how banged up you seem to be coming out of that game?
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to go into the bye week with a win and going on the road and a lot of good mojo and those types of things. But yeah, obviously from a banged up perspective, the timing has been good.
Taekwon and Christian, will that be a competitive situation? Or?
Yeah, it's always a competitive situation. Yes, sir.
Going back to the bye week, you're facing things like Clifford questions. How do you keep that 1-0 mentality that you have to come with the bye week and those kind of aspects?
Yeah, because it's just getting better this week and doing what we have to do to win the week in terms of our practices, in terms of our academics, in terms of getting a head start on Illinois. The next opportunity to be 1-0 is Illinois, but it's also it's about winning today too, right? So we got a pretty good process of how we do it and how we go about it. I thought the leadership council made some good decisions in the beginning of the week as well, how the guys were going to approach it from a social perspective, because that factors into it too. But so far so good.
James, you give them a couple days off to kids go home? for the weekend? Or
So we will practice on Thursday with the basically the developmental squad, and then the travel squad will run with Deej, and then they have to fulfill all their academic responsibilities on Friday. And once all their academic responsibilities are free, then if they want to go home or relax or whatever it is, they have Friday night. They got Saturday until we practice on Sunday to do what they want to do.
James, you've talked about in the past of doing some self-scouting at bye weeks. Have you done that this year? And then if there's anything you want to share about what you've noticed that you maybe want to course correct in the second half of the season?
Yeah, so we did it on each side of the ball. So the offense self-scouted themselves, the defense self-scouted themselves as well, and same thing with special teams. And then we did a day of crossover where the offensive coaches self-scouted the defense. Or opponent scout, however you want to look at it, and the defense did that with the offense as well, because it's always interesting how the defense looks at offense compares to how offense looks at themselves. So that was valuable, but yeah, nothing specific that I would be comfortable sharing in this setting. But yeah, I think I've said this to you guys before. Tendencies are not a bad thing. If you have a tendency, it means you're usually pretty good at something, but you need to be aware of what that is, right? So that you can find ways to complement it and keep people honest. So, but we did 2 full days on that, and then it moved on.
We talked a lot about injuries tonight. The whole going down in the middle of the game thing is dragged on for a few more days. It's one thing if fans say it. It might be another thing to hear it from someone in the same position as you. Kirk Ferentz has been, I would say, kind of pointed and somewhat accusatory of all of that. How does that make you feel? What do you think about that, and how do you address it?
Okay. I hope that was loud enough that everybody heard the question, because I'm going to answer the question. I kind of wrote some things down because I thought this was coming. First of all, I would ask anybody that's listening to take your Penn State hat off or take your Iowa hat off. I'm just going to talk in what I believe and what I think from a strategy standpoint, from a common sense perspective, from what's good for football, in my opinion, college football. So how does this strategy make sense against a huddle team? People use this strategy to slow people down. Spread offenses, tempo offenses. They huddle. So that strategy did not make sense in this situation. In our 6 years of playing them, 6 years straight, 4-2 with our record, has that ever shown up? Has anybody seen that? In my 8 years as a head coach, has that showed up at Penn State? In my 12 years as a head coach, has that showed up? Has not showed up. Plus our defense is playing lights out. Our defense is playing great. Our defense is playing lights out. We turned the ball over to start the game inside the 5-yard line, held no field goal. So again, go back and check it. And again, I'm not talking. I got tremendous respect for the University of Iowa. I got tremendous respect for their fans. It was a hell of a game in a tough environment. I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating how I see the facts. Take your fan hats off. I want the Penn State fans to take their hats off. Now let's talk about injuries. Okay, now hold on a second. Before that, now put yourself in the shoes of a parent. Your son is down on the field for an injury, and the stadium is booing them. We didn't just boo that. We booed balls falling off tees by the wind. I don't know who we were booing for that. We weren't gaining an advantage of that. But your son's down on the field with an injury, and I just told you PJ Mustipher is done for the year, and we're booing. Is that good for college football? Is that good for college football? Now, again, from a strategy standpoint, would it be strategic for us to tell PJ Mustipher to go down and fake an injury? One of our best players, one of our starters, one of our captains. Does that make sense? If you're going to do it, you wouldn't do it with your starter, your captain. All right, let's talk about his backup, Devon Elise, who also got booed. So would it make sense for the backup D tackle, we've already lost our starter, to send him out of the game for a play? I don't think so. AK, maybe our best defensive player, and his probably looked the worst. He went down. Maybe it's because he plays so hard and he was cramping. But am I going to tell AK to go down and not play a play on defense? Does that make any sense? Brisker, he went down twice against Wisconsin. They didn't boo him. Sean Clifford, did we want him to go down and not return in the game? Devin Ford, our starting tailback in the game, went down and did not return in the game. Did we want that to happen? Lovett went down, did not return in the game. Sutherland, our captain, went down and did not return in the game. So it was a physical game. Was there a bunch of injuries? I get it. And how it may have looked, I get it. I'm telling you, we don't coach it. We don't teach it. And made it look that way because there was a bunch of injuries in the game. I get it. There was a bunch of injuries in the game. But 70% of those guys never returned. So all I'm saying is I don't think this is right for college football. If a player goes down and it's my son and the stadium's booing him, it's no different than a player go down to practice. One of the things I tell the coaches all the time, a player goes down to practice, what do coaches used to say for 100 years? Get up, you're fine. Well, what if he's not? So I wasn't attacking the University of Iowa. I'm trying to protect college football. And I don't think that's the right thing for our game. So I know that was a long answer, but I got people coming into me all day, showing me things and things like that. And I got tremendous respect for their program, for their head coach who's been doing it a long time. But I felt like after the game I had to say something because when I got my starting D tackle, PJ Mustipher, down on the field and he can't play for the rest of the season, he's my captain, and they're booing him, I don't think anybody would feel good about that. And we had a number of guys go out of the game and never came back. So that was a long answer.
2 more questions.
2?
If you were playing Illinois this weekend, this is a bit hypothetical, so sorry, would Sean be playing, or would he be preparing to play, or would he be in kind of an injured track?
What was the last one?
Or would he be fully preparing to play right now, or would he be preparing as like a backup or to be on the bench?
Yeah, 2 things. He's going to be preparing to be the starter. And number 2, it's a good way to ask me if he is healthy or not. And I'm not answering that question because I do not get into specifics when it comes to injuries. It's a strategic, intelligent way of asking the question, but I'm not answering it. Sean's going to prepare to be the starter every single week.
James, what is your game plan for you and the staff the rest of this week outside of the coaching stuff for the team that you told us about and then recruiting-wise as well?
Yeah, so the coaches, we're all on the road recruiting. Hopefully this won't be a long answer because I got a flight to catch where I'm going to be in about 6 different states in 3 days. I got to prepare for 90-degree weather, 50-degree weather, 60-degree weather. I got it all mapped out. Try to be as efficient as we possibly can as a staff, get as much work done as we possibly can. Most of the Illinois stuff is done at this stage. Most of us will get back on Saturday. One of the things that is really cool is, you guys probably know this, but Coach Poindexter is being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and he's being honored at the University of Virginia this week. We actually worked with their athletic director about doing it this bye week, which matched up with a home game for them, so he'll be honored on Saturday. But the rest of us will all be out recruiting, and he'll be out recruiting up till that point. And then we'll get back here sometime Saturday evening and then get ready for our normal operation on Sunday for our Illinois week. And then on top of that, obviously we gain a little time on Sunday because we do not have to do the corrections from the previous game in meetings or on the field, so we'll gain a little bit of time on our preparation.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I hope that wasn't too long-winded. I apologize.